Welcome to another episode of Draped in Dread. Today's case is coming out of Montana, a little bit of a vintage vibe, circa 2013. Let's just dive in. I'm kind of going to just cover the facts of the case and then kind of go into more detail of what ultimately happened. The two individuals in this case are Cody Johnston and Nicole Waller. They started dating sometime in 2011, and as I mentioned, the majority of their relationship was pretty on again, off again vibes. So Cody was living in Fairview, Montana, and working in northeastern Montana, and Nicole was primarily living in Kalispell. She suffered from medical problems and was struggling financially, which, same girl. Cody helped her get a nicer home by purchasing a double-wide trailer and the lot for it to sit on, and then sold it to her in an agreement for $12,000. She gave him an initial $10,000 down, and then they agreed that she would make payments to pay the remaining $2,000. Like I said, there was a lot of on-again, off-again stuff going on, but the ultimate blow came when Nicole allegedly told Cody that she was pregnant, and allegedly she did that because she believed he was cheating on her. I couldn't find anything in the court documents on what the actual situation was, but that's what is in the court documents, so that's what I'm gonna stick with. It also kind of gave the vibe that they both just wanted to end their relationship for different reasons. Prior to this last breakup, Nicole had spent several days at Cody's home. But then once the fight happened, she wanted to get home because she was afraid that Cody was going to go there and remove a bunch of her stuff. I don't know if it's stuff he bought for her or if he was just... she knew he was going to be a dick. I don't know what the vibe was. So she spent one last night at his house on February 13th of 2013, which, girl, the night before Valentine's Day. This timing stuff always happens, around stuff like this, I feel like. Johnston spent the night with his friend in a camper in the parking lot of the trucking company that he worked for. Unbeknownst to Nicole, he arranged for someone to place padlocks on the door of the trailer so that she could not even get into her home. Which, I don't know. I don't think that's legal. Anyway. It's the least of the things here, but that's just kind of a dick move. At 6:58 a.m., on February 14th, so Valentine's Day, damn. Nicole called her ex-husband, Jason Waller, and told him that she was coming back to Kalispell. Not sure what his role was, if they were still friends, I'm not sure why she was, involving him in this and how he would have known this, but the court documents say that he then told her that padlocks had been placed on her home, and that made her very upset, which, relatable. So then she hung up with her ex-husband and called Cody at 7:02 a.m., so this is just a couple minutes later, and spoke to him, according to phone records, for a minute and a half. He later acknowledged that she was angry because he had had locks placed on her doors. And Cody told law enforcement that Nicole kept calling him, so he shut her phone off through his Verizon account. But the actual phone records, so that's what he claims, right? But it says the actual phone records demonstrate that he did not do that and instead called her 7 times in the next 20 minutes, with each call lasting between 35 seconds and 3 minutes and 39 seconds, which, I'm so nosy because I just would love to know what was being said. Anyway, because of Nicole's medical problems, she had a personal care assistant named Mark Hines. She texted Hines at 7:25 a.m. stating, "I'm on the way." No more calls or texts were ever sent from Nicole's phone after that time. Her children, family, and friends never heard from her again, which, that's ominous as fuck. Cell phone records show that Cody was calling Nicole as he was going towards his house from where he worked, which again contradicts his thing of that he called and had her phone shut off, because he couldn't be calling her. There would be no phone records if her phone had been disconnected. So he got home at 7:26 a.m. And according to a coworker who just, I guess, happened to be driving by then, which, I don't know, saw Cody's vehicle outside of his house and confirmed that it was running, which, I guess, because it was February, I guess you could see, never mind the exhaust. But I was going to be like, how would you have even? But I forgot it was February, so never mind. So then, after going home, which it doesn't confirm if Nicole had left, because she sent him on my way at 7:25 a.m. but according to this he got there at 7:26, so I'm assuming she had not left yet. And then it's unclear what happened. The court documents don't really indicate what happened in that 15-minute-ish period, but Cody supposedly left his house around 7:41 a.m. and arrived to his job at the trucking company around 8 or 8:30. Cody told his manager that he had some business to take care of and that he was going to be gone for a while. His coworkers did not see him there again that day. He told another coworker that morning that he was going to take a personal day because he had some stuff to take care of. Here's where it gets kind of shady, right? Because if you guys have some errands to take care of or whatever, and they're, innocent little errands, why would you ask your coworkers to tell everyone that you'd been at work all day? Because that's what he did. It says Cody later asked 2 coworkers to tell everyone that asked that he had been at work all day, which, shady. So then at 8:18 a.m., according to phone records, Cody called a man named Bill Soderberg. I think that's how you say it. Sorry if not. Cody asked Bill for a barrel with a lid that could be secured on it. But Bill only had barrels without lids, and Cody was not interested in a lidless barrel, which, yep. If someone called me and was like, "You got some barrels?" I'd be like, what did you do? Anyway. Cody also asked Bill to give him a ride from Poplar, Montana, back to his house in Fairview. I'm not very familiar with Montana, but everything I could see said it was 50-ish miles from Poplar to his house in Fairview. So probably somewhere, half an hour to an hour drive, I would guess. But according to cell phone data, Cody was home around 9 a.m. and by 9:30, his phone records show that he was traveling back in the direction towards Poplar. He then turned his phone off, which remained off for 3 hours. Which, again, when you've asked about a barrel and then you turn your phone off and tell people to lie that you've been at work, it's you're not very good at this, dude. Just shut your mouth. If you're going to commit crime, be quiet about it. And stop being obvious. Anyway, Nicole's phone was in the same location as Cody's phone between 9 and 9:30 a.m. and was also turned off at the same time as Cody's phone, which, again, shady. Because the phones were both off, there is no cell phone data of where he was during that time. Bill testifies that during that time, Cody drove Nicole's Ford Expedition to meet him, and then he followed him in his truck. Cody left the Expedition on the side of the road near Poplar and got a ride back to his house from Bill. Which, like, what did you tell him was happening, that you were just leaving your girlfriend's car on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere? Like, what is, with her guinea pigs inside? Like, you're literally, I'm so sorry. I understand he, like, did some bad stuff here. I mean, beyond bad stuff. But, like, when you, like, involve innocent animals in this and just leave them to die like that, you're extra fucking fucked. So apparently, on the way back, Bill decided that he needed a tire, which I don't know if this is related to the shady stuff or he's just bad at planning or what, but he stopped at a John Deere dealership to pick up a tire. And while they were there, Cody thought it was a great idea to ask the dealership for a barrel, which again, like, stop being weird and asking people for barrels. Like, anyway. He did not get a barrel, though, because the barrels they had also did not have a lid. And then according to court documents, between 11 a.m. and noon, so this is still within the window where the phones are off, so we don't actually have data of where he was. But one of his coworkers says that they drove past his house and his truck was backed up to the garage. And here's one thing I've learned from all the years of me listening to true crime is whenever you see trucks backed up to the garage, it's like something weird. Because like Chris Watts did that too. I remember like his neighbor immediately noticed that his truck was backed up and he never did that. So I always think of stuff like that now. I am paranoid and observant all at the same time. Anyway. So the next day, Cody called Bill and told him to, quote, forget that he gave him a ride. So he literally called him. So let's like run through it real fast. He's told his coworkers to say he was at work all day. He's asking like multiple people in a dealership for barrels, but then doesn't buy one because it doesn't have a lid. He just left a car with guinea pigs inside at the side of the road, and now is telling this guy to just forget that he gave him a ride. And I'm like, I don't know what kind of people he was involved with, but if I had a friend who's like, hey, you got a barrel? And I'm like, I don't have any with lids. And they're like, okay, never mind, but can you give me a ride and then pick me up in the middle of nowhere and then forget about it? I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not just gonna be like, yeah, cool, I'll forget. I'd be like, what are you doing? What's going on here? Anyway, I always wonder that. I'm like, what kind of people are you involved with that they don't question any of this? He also called Bill several days later to confirm and find out, quote, if they were on the same page with the story. So, dude, you were still being shady days later. Like, just shut your mouth, man. I'm not, like, encouraging this, but, like, that's one thing is, like, shut up. Like, if you're committing these kinds of crimes, be quiet. Do not keep asking people for barrels, and if you're on the same page, because, dude, Anyway, law enforcement discovered Nicole's expedition on the side of the highway just west of Poplar. It was completely full of her belongings, including her medications, which, again, she needed to live. And the car had 2 live guinea pigs, which is, I'm, like, glad they were alive, but they'd literally been in there for days, and it was February, so, in Montana. On February 16th, 2013, a friend of Nicole's called law enforcement to report that she was supposed to have come back to Kalispell 2 days earlier and had not arrived. The assistant chief of police, Bob Burnison, called Cody on February 18th of 2013 and spoke to him, having said they called him because they knew, like, that was her boyfriend. Burnison asked Cody to come into the police station for an interview, and Cody agreed and came in on February 19th, 2013. Cody told Burnison that he had last seen Nicole around noon, February 13th, 2013, when he came home for lunch and she was at his house. Cody said that he then went back to work and spent the night in the camper at his work site. Cody claimed that Nicole had called him the morning of February 14th and told him that she was leaving. He stated that he went home around noon on February 14th and that Nicole and the vehicle were gone. According to the court documents, Cody told the police that he and the bank owned the home in Kalispell that Nicole was living in, and he stated that she was angry at him because he had put padlocks on the home so she could not enter it. Leading up to February 14th, 2013, Cody had been texting a woman named Amber Fleming, with whom he had been romantically involved, and was telling her that he was taking care of the situation with Nicole so that he and Amber could be together. Cody renewed his relationship with Amber within only 1 day of Nicole's disappearance. Law enforcement then went to Amber's home in Flathead County on February 23rd, 2013 to execute a search warrant for Cody's truck. Officers located a safe that had Nicole's paperwork, which was inside of a trash bag, inside of a locked box in the back of Cody's truck. Once they broke into the safe, they basically just found a buy-sell agreement of their arrangement for Cody to sell Nicole a 1996 Liberty home for the sum of $12,000. Cody was then interviewed by Flathead County Sheriff's Deputy Gino Cook, and he again stated that the house in Kalispell was his and that Nicole was very angry because he had placed locks on it. Again, he's not really given the reason as to why, because he's not said, like, oh, she stopped paying or something, so I'm not sure, like, if he's given a reason, because the court documents don't say, like, what he told police about the locks. On February 20th, 2013, Nicole's sister received a Facebook message, supposedly from Nicole, stating, quote, "Everybody had a lovely evening, not coming home. Don't laugh at me. Sorry I let everybody down," end quote. Law enforcement discovered also that a friend of Cody's posted the message at Cody's request. And before the friend posted the message, Cody tried to get 2 other people to post a Facebook message pretending to be Nicole. Both declined. Which it's like, okay, finally some sane people in here, because this man is having everybody do his bidding. Like some kind of deranged little evil gremlin or something, like barrels and leaving guinea pigs on the side of the road and just, ew. And finally, somebody asked, it says one person asked Cody why he wanted him to falsify a Facebook posting. Cody told him that the cops were hounding him about his missing girlfriend, and he wanted to make it look like she was okay somewhere else. So, okay, hold on a minute. Okay. So your girlfriend is missing. Like, right? She's missing. And you're saying the police are, quote, hounding you? Like, this dude is literally just consistently telling on himself, running around asking about barrels, and then not buying them because they don't have lids. And being like, yeah, this bitch is hounding me. Like, who cares, she's missing? And he wanted to make it look like she was okay somewhere else. That's, like, the wildest part about it, because you're straight up just saying you know she's not okay. Haven't been able to find in the court documents if he ever finds his barrel or not with the lid, but I'm assuming he found something. Anyway, law enforcement never found Nicole's body. They also can't find any indication that she's alive. Nicole has not contacted her family, including her young children, and to this day has still not contacted her children 12 years later. She has not accessed bank accounts, visited her daughter that resides in a facility, or requested any kind of medical records or had any doctor's appointments. Her body has never been found, but law enforcement had enough to determine that she was dead and charged Cody with homicide in August of 2015. So that's kind of the facts around the case and the weird shady behavior about the barrels and stuff. I'm so sorry, I just can't get over the barrel thing. It's just so telling. And then this is going to move on into the actual, like, criminal trial, where we'll hear, what the actual prosecutors have to say and what actual evidence there is, not just the weird stuff that Cody's running around saying. So at his trial, which is in 2015, Cody is testifying that Nicole called him on the morning of February 14th, 2013, and she was angry that he'd locked her house. He testified that when he got to his house, she was gone, but her car was there, and he claimed that he assumed she left with someone and moved her vehicle because he was very childish and very vindictive, and that's a quote from him. He stated that the keys and the phone were in the vehicle, and he threw her phone away. Doesn't even acknowledge the part about leaving the 2 guinea pigs in the car, but, Cody testified he was not worried about her because she always showed up, which, again, so sweet. He claimed that he sold the trailer she had been living in a few months after she disappeared because it had been broken into. And he acknowledged that he had repeatedly lied to investigators. He also acknowledged that he had asked others to lie for him to hide the fact that he had not been at work that morning and that he'd instead been moving Nicole's vehicle. He claimed he lied because he was scared. He said that he thought the false Facebook posting was, quote, a harmless thing. I'd get left alone and she'd come back, end quote. Near the beginning of the state's closing argument, the prosecutor said, quote, I'll try to be as brief as I can because I honestly think it's obvious that after 3 years, Nicole Waller is dead, end quote. The prosecutor then highlighted the quantity of evidence demonstrating that Nicole was no longer alive. The prosecutor noted that Nicole had not had any contact with her children, who she had always had contact with. She had not sent anyone any messages, even though she was always using text, phone calls, and social media extensively, and had not followed up with any medical appointments or picked up any prescriptions. Additionally, Nicole had not withdrawn any money from her account, even though she had been in a bad financial situation before her death. The prosecutor noted that Nicole had left her belongings in her vehicle with the guinea pigs, which Cody had abandoned on the side of the road near Poplar, Montana, and that because the live guinea pigs were in the vehicle, it suggested she was planning on leaving, because she wasn't going to just leave her pets like Cody did. While making that argument, the prosecutor stated that the live guinea pigs say that was one of the last things she put in her car and she's planning to be on the way home. So after discussing that she was dead, the prosecutor concluded, quote, I think it's clear, unfortunately, that we've proven beyond any doubt that Nicole Waller is dead. The prosecutor shifted to arguing that Cody had killed Nicole, and the prosecutor discussed the morning of February 14th and provided a theory about what had occurred. He said that, quote, the story the defendant told you yesterday makes no sense whatsoever. You should reject it as pure fiction. The prosecutor pointed out that Cody had lied to Nicole on the evening of February 13th and argued that he had also lied to Amber. He then asked, quote, who treats a person like that? Who lies to a person like that? The prosecutor then discussed Cody having padlocks placed on Nicole's trailer, after which the prosecutor stated, quote, wow, nice guy, which, same, because that's like a dick move. The prosecutor pointed out that Cody got a person to place locks on Nicole's door by falsely claiming that squatters were in the trailer, but Nicole had paid Cody $10,000 for the trailer, and the people that were in the trailer were allowed to be there, and she was not behind on payments. The prosecutor further pointed out that after locking Nicole out of her trailer, Cody exchanged text messages about it with Amber, and they were both happy about it. The prosecutor then stated, quote, I ask you, what kind of man does that, and what does that tell you about his character? It certainly tells us that he wanted her out of the house. After discussing Cody's locking of the trailer, The prosecutor then pointed out that the evidence demonstrated that Cody drove to his house on the morning of February 14th, shortly after Nicole had learned about the locks. The prosecutor argued that they had had an argument that morning, and he killed her during that argument. The prosecutor acknowledged that the state did not know how Cody had killed Nicole, but he pointed out, quote, "We don't know because he's hid the body. Her body now rests in some dirty and disrespectful location, which has been hidden by the defendant," which he read him to filth, so good on the prosecutor. The prosecutor also discussed Cody's efforts to have coworkers lie and say that he'd been at work, and to have Bill lie, saying that he had seen Cody move Nicole's vehicle. Discussing differences between Cody and Bill's testimony about the type of barrel that Cody was looking for, the prosecutor stated, quote, "I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the credibility of this defendant who has lied and lied and lied through this trial, compared to Bill, who's raised his hand under oath, you make that decision. I think it's simple. I think it's easy." This prosecutor is just not missing. The prosecutor next discussed Cody's efforts to falsify the Facebook post from Nicole saying she was still alive, which had caused her family significant distress. The prosecutor also pointed out that Cody cleaned out her belongings from her house without notifying Nicole's sister, even though he had previously agreed that they would go do it at the house together. The prosecutor again questioned what that told the jury about Cody's character, which, in my opinion, is that he's just a piece of shit who does whatever is going to benefit him right then. Also, not to be mean, but this dude's, ugly, so. Prosecutor continued discussing the timeline in detail, pointing out the phone evidence demonstrated that Cody arrived at the house immediately after Nicole had sent her last text. Cody later possessed the phone that Nicole had sent the message from, demonstrating that he had taken it from her after she had sent that last message. The prosecutor explained that the evidence was inconsistent with Cody's claim that she had just left her phone behind. And then the prosecutor pointed out that Cody had turned his phone off again several days later so that they could not track where he had been at that time. The prosecutor acknowledged that the state did not know where Nicole's body was or how she was killed. And then says, quote, "Unfortunately, only the defendant knows the answers to those questions. Somewhere in Montana, Nicole Waller lies in a cold and lonely grave, taken from her children and her family by that man, Cody Johnston." Cody's counsel did not object one time during the state's closing argument. But in response, Cody's counsel highlighted the weaknesses in the state's case, pointing out that the state had not told the jury how Nicole had died or where her body was located. He acknowledged that Cody had lied to authorities, but argued those mistakes did not establish that he had killed her. Counsel argued that the evidence did not clearly establish Cody arriving that morning while Nicole was still there, and said it would have been reasonable for her to leave her phone when Cody had told her that he was going to turn it off. But again, he didn't turn it off because he was blowing her phone up. Counsel pointed out there was no indication a fight had happened, noting that Cody did not have any injuries. There was not blood in the house, and neighbors did not hear fighting. They emphasized the timeline and argued that Cody could not have disposed of Nicole's body on the morning of February 14th while his phone was off for those 3 hours because he was with Bill, which Bill also didn't think it was weird that this man's running around asking for barrels, so counsel also argued the barrel was a red herring and did not demonstrate that he had killed her, which dude's running around asking for barrels with lids, and yeah, that's. But anytime someone asks for a barrel, man, I'm like. Counsel asked the jury to read all of the text and evidence rather than just the ones that the state had pulled. He argued the messages demonstrated that Cody had been trying to get Nicole to go to treatment, and that both Nicole and Cody were manipulative. Counsel argued the state did not meet its burden to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt because too many questions were left unanswered. And in rebuttal, the state emphasized that Cody had asked his coworkers to lie to create an alibi, moved and abandoned Nicole's vehicle with her guinea pigs inside, and solicited people to create false Facebook posts, which are all consistent with behavior of him trying to cover up killing Nicole. And again, running around asking everybody and their mom for barrels. Addressing the barrel again, the prosecutor stated that Cody's claim that he needed it for mechanic work was, quote, ridiculous. The prosecutor stated, quote, I know what that barrel was for. Bill knew what that barrel was for. And I submit you should know what that barrel was for as well. In conclusion, the prosecutor argued that the jury could use common sense, that she did not leave on her own and was instead killed by Cody. In January of 2017, after an ongoing trial of almost 2 years, the jury found Cody guilty of deliberate homicide and tampering with evidence. You ready? He was given life in prison for deliberate homicide and an additional 10 years for evidence tampering. So Cody is in prison. He's been in prison for, he's been in jail. He's been in some kind of confinement for over 10 years now. But he's been actually, in prison for, 8 years. And he has filed appeal after appeal that have all been denied. I think he still has an open appeal. I will post any updates, if he gets a new trial or if his case is overturned or anything like that. But I feel like the moral of the story is, if you're going to commit these kinds of crimes, which I am not encouraging, but, just keep your mouth shut and stop running around asking for barrels specifically with lids and leaving guinea pigs on the side of the road, because then you're a piece of shit. So, yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of Draped in Dread. And I hope you keep listening.